Hello?
Hey, there you are.
All right, so I didn't know I was invited to a party.
You are.
You are the party.
I see. How are you? Sorry for the delay.
No, that's fine. Miguel, this is our fast start to your book class.
Okay.
Diane's missing because she's in Phoenix for an adoption of a third grandchild.
Gotcha. Wow.
And so we have, I know you know Joni Wilson.
Howdy.
We have Lowell Rex. He's here in Goodyear, one of my clients here locally.
Hello.
And he's writing his book. Tell him about your book, Lowell.
Give me a minute and I will.
That's pretty funny.
And Joanne Dillery, who is my aunt. She's from Rancho Cucamonga.
Okay.
All right. And Joe, tell them about your book.
My book is called The BS Years, BS being before school, Setting the Stage for School Success.
Nice.
And it's about how parents can help children from conception to 5 years.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. And we also have Judy, our wonderful.
Hi, Judy.
Hey, Miguel, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Good. You getting all settled there, huh?
I am.
Very good. All right. Well, now the introduction. I guess we lost Lowell. Are you ready to tell about your book, Lowell?
I got demoted. I had to come down out of my penthouse suite. My book is written specifically to owners of small businesses. It's entitled Stepping into the Zone. And it's a compilation of my life experiences in and out of business and what to do for small business owners who want to adopt Ben Franklin's business model. He said, the only reason to get a job is to learn a trade. The only reason to learn a trade is to be able to go into business for yourself. And then he said, the only reason to go into business for yourself is to own a business that will bring you both the time and the money to live the kind of life you really want to live.
Those are great mission statements.
Very good. Well, without any further ado, I want to introduce all of you to Miguel de Jesus. He's my friend, he's my mentor, and somebody that I've always looked up to because of his wisdom. He has many years of experience in working with Fortune 500 companies. He's highly accomplished with results-oriented C-level type of clients, but he also has written 2 books. Is that Miguel? That's all I found on Amazon.
Well, two books, one anthology.
One anthology, okay. And he had, one of his key strengths is in the area of emotional intelligence. And I have just learned so much from Miguel and his kind spirit and his wealth of wisdom. And I wanted to share with you guys today.
Well, thank you. That's awesome.
Tell us a little bit about you and what you're all about.
All right. So what am I all about? I'm all about results, performance, leadership, the use of proper tools, sequencing of those tools, and the use of emotional intelligence in everything that I do. So what I do is I work with small businesses on the low end, anywhere from $500,000 to I'll go up to 50 million in size. And there are reasons for that, which I can discuss as we go forward. But and then I work with billion-dollar companies. I work with C-suite executives to do executive coaching with them. I'm called in on assignment. I go in and interview. In case you've ever wanted to know how you get a gig like that, well, you go through. First of all, you got to be on a list. Second of all, you got to be the best person that they have interviewed in order to make a selection of who they're going to work with. So in order to do that, most billion-dollar companies want people who are credentialed. So I've got a credential through the College of Executive Coaching on executive coaching. So you will meet, if you Google coaching on any day, you'll find anywhere from 28 million to about 30 million because everybody's a coach. But when you deal with billion-dollar companies, they need certifications. And that's where I've honed my skills over the better part of 40 years. And I tend to go where the money is. when you get an engagement from them, they don't haggle about how much. They want a problem fixed. They want a consultant, otherwise known as a coach. From a billing standpoint, those two are very different. And I can review a little bit of that. And you guys are an experienced group, because I assume that you do some coaching consulting yourselves. But usually consultants will get paid more money because they're actually expected to get an outcome. Coaches on average, as long as they have mastered a process and they can deliver the process, are not necessarily paid or compensated for results. They're paid and compensated for helping somebody through their thinking. Now, I just gave you some very simplistic definitions, but that's been my experience in those years. So, grew up in New York City, worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies over the course of 40 years, was in the C-suite on one of them, managed an 800-person sales organization, had 7 senior sales managers reporting to me in the smaller company. The first company, Xerox Corporation, was $20 billion. The second company, when I started with them at $40 million, and that was a strategic decision because I knew I could help them grow as part of their executive team, and I did. So by the time I retired from there, it was a $2 billion company 18 years later. And for the last 8 years, I've been helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, speakers, authors, coaches, anybody who wants to learn how to get better results in whatever they are seeking, to have some significant breakthroughs. And so in order to do that, I work with them at 2 levels. One is a strategic level, and the other one is a tactical level. And both of those things are different. They're not the same thing. Most startup people under 500,000 that I speak to are trying to be both strategic and tactical, but they're 90% tactical because they got to pay the bills. And then they go out and they hire coaches that we've all met and we probably have written checks to help us become more strategic. And if we hire the right coach, they actually help us with our thinking so that we can become more balanced in the early stages of the growth of our business between being strategic and being tactical. I've got 3 adult children. My youngest is 35, 13-year-old granddaughter. My oldest is 42, 41, 35, 13. And I've got a spouse of 45 years, August 29th, that we've been married. And she is, thank you. And she's a good egg. She keeps me balanced. So that's my story up to the moment.
Very cool. So your backstory is very interesting. Now, you've written some books. What have those done for you, and why did you write them?
Yeah, I'm going to start with why did I write them? What they've done for me is not something that I can monetize. I got a check for $72 last month. Whoop-de-doo. That's not why you write a book, unless you're going to be a best-selling author and you get money up front, as we've all learned through all of our mentors. The process in the business for me of writing a book was to gain expertise in a niche and use it as a marketing tool to promote my message to my key executives, which are usually CEOs, business owners, C-Corp executives, and I can use the strategies through Amazon to get my book in front of them. So that's really what inspired me to book. I had no compelling reason. I had no yearning to have to write a book. That's not my world. That's not where I come from. But the world that I come from is promotion, marketing, sales, etc. And I discovered through the many programs I've attended that having a book is your business card. And you ought to have one, the things that you want to improve your reach on. So the motivation to write my book, my first one was December 2013. Basically, it's called Success Leaves Clues. And I put a number of things into that book that at any age, at any type of learning and educational level, you can pick up some key ideas on how to do business growth. I mean, how do you do it? It's one thing to say, it's another thing to do it. So I've got a lot of tips and ideas on how to do that. That was my first book. My second book was an anthology where I actually wrote a chapter of a book. That, I think it's about 800 words, really captures my my youth through New York City to what I do today in the area of teaching emotional intelligence, and describes a lot of that process. And then my third book, which is Let Your Emotional Intelligence Do the Talking, is the result of becoming a certified coach in the area of EQ. And I decided to do that because it's a significant gap in corporate environments, and most people don't know how to improve their communication skills in a manner that's going to yield more positive results. For example, one of the modules that I teach is called Leaning into Your Discomfort. There are a lot of people in corporate environments and also individual businesses that just are conflict avoidance. And there are many reasons for that. Some psychological, some are just lack of training, and some are just a lack of something tactical to do to teach you how to become comfortable in your own skin when you're disagreeing with someone without being disagreeable. And, we certainly see a lot of that in our country today, where people take opposite views and opinions, and they, all of a sudden everything becomes personal. Well, we've lost our civility as a nation. It certainly doesn't exist in many corporations and many larger organizations I work in. And so it's my role, I see it as my mission, to go help people communicate better through the use of certain skills, techniques, to help them first self-identify where their strengths are, also where their gaps may be, and then to provide some skill training around that. So those are the three books that I have published in. And the strategy for the book, again, had less to do with writing a book and everything to do with creating my business card.
Mm-hmm. We call it's your calling card, because business cards get thrown away. Books very seldom get thrown away.
Exactly. See, but that's why you're the expert. You got the right crafted copywriting script for that. I listen to you. But you're right on.
Okay. Very cool. So all of our students here, pretty much, except for Joni, are brand new to the book writing field. What would be one bit of advice you can give them that's going to make a big difference, any kind of difference for them as far as they move forward through this process?
Yeah. It's almost what I find. I just came back from a vacation. I was on the island of Puerto Rico, and I sat next to a business owner. He volunteered his age, so that's cool. Only because I volunteered mine, so I went first. And so this is a 54-year-old hairstylist guru to the stars person, all right? He does platform speaking. He does a whole bunch of things. And, of course, I asked him, what? Do you have a book? Yeah. And he said, no, he's thinking about it. Well, here's the deal. Everybody's always thinking about writing their book, all right? That doesn't shock me. What comes next is more important, which has to do with, once you develop some form of relationship, that you can ask the tough question. And the tough question is, what has gotten in your way to this point to writing the book? And then you just sit back and listen, and they'll hem and haw, and yeah, well, that's usually where they go. They go into silence mode. And then you've got to, pry open those lips, dig down there and say, come on, get real. I'm not going to report you. It's okay if you don't know how to do it. How about this? Do you actually know how to write a book? Oh, gosh, you asked me a tough question. And they'll say yes. Because, again, it's not about being right or wrong. It's just I'm trying to find out where you are so I can offer you some resources to help you get there quicker, faster, better. So here's this guy who's a self-employed entrepreneur, consultant, and I gave him some ideas about consulting and how to back end his compensation. So is George going to write a book? I don't know. Does he have my number? Yes, he does. Did I minimize it sufficiently for him to understand that writing the book is less important than having the book? Yes, I did.
I'm sure you did.
And that's a distinction. There are too many people who, took them 4 years to get on the bandwagon that they should have a book, and then it's going to take them another 3 years for them to understand they don't need to write it. You can dictate it.
That was my next question to you.
So speed to market, which is a concept I gave him. I said, you're a consultant to all these folks. Do you have a program? Do you have a workbook? Do you have an action guide? What do you have? And he said, again, I asked him a whole bunch. I gave him probably $10,000 a consultation for 3 hours at no charge. And the only benefit he had, he was sitting next to me, so he had to listen to me. But I had a lot of fun. I think it may turn into a relationship down the road. But really, I had to change his thinking. So had somebody told me unequivocally 4 years ago that despite the fact that you're a coach, consultant, and all that other stuff you do, you might want to lead with a book. No, nobody told me that. Nobody came to me with that revelation that said expert positioning comes before everything else. And if you look at your business card as being the book or ebook or short case study, it doesn't have to be War and Peace. And once I reconciled myself to the fact that, it doesn't have to be War and Peace. Who cares anyway? I'm the personality that's presenting the content. I, from stage, am the IP, the intellectual property, not the book. But you need the book in order, in my opinion, in order to facilitate getting on stage. It is so much easier once you have published a book to have people, number one, read it. Number two, to precede them in terms of their thinking about the transformation and the outcomes that working with you is going to give them. Let me say that again. Transformation and outcomes can all be read in a book. However, it is us who bring it to life.
That's perfect. I love that. So one of the questions that I generally will ask people is 4 different questions about why they want to write a book or to get that ball rolling. Do they want to build a business? Do they need to reinvent themselves? Do they want to leave a legacy? And do they have a story to tell? And every time you get an answer, generally yes, but they're lost in the processes of how to do it, and that's where we come in.
Well, what you do is you provide a highly valuable service of structure. Look, I got an email from a young man that I worked with when I was with my former company. So he's been to, I think, 2 or 3 companies since, and now he's on sabbatical. He took sabbatical to write his book, and he's writing his book in Cyprus. So he and I connected through Facebook mail, and I said, "Okay, cool. You're in Cyprus, so what are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm writing my book, and his book is going to be sales centric." And I said, "Well, that's great." So, and I didn't tell him anything because he's already committed down the road, down a certain path. And anything I could possibly share with him is going to be a little bit of a monkey wrench. So I didn't give him the monkey wrench on the first communication. I'll give it to him this week because there are a few, he's writing a book, but I don't think he knows why he's writing a book. Somebody told him you need to have a book, or he heard it somewhere. And I'm asking strategically, not tactically, why are you writing the book? What does the book serve you to do? And when I connect with him, I know I'm going to probably ask him 5 or 6 questions that may cause him pause in the direction that he's going, which would be good because I could probably save him several thousands of dollars.
Right.
And I'm going to ask him to start with the end in mind. Why are you writing the book? Are you going to teach sales management? What is the goal, the purpose of the book? Do you have an action guide that goes with the book if you intend on teaching it? So again, I didn't want to clutter the initial dialogue with too much tactical information, but that'll come out in subsequent phone calls with him. So that I'm just sharing with you what, in the course of 3 days, has happened. People, everybody's on the craze because they've all listened to somebody that you got to write a book. Well, that's great. And I think the best service we can provide clients, regardless of where they are, and everybody on this call has probably talked to people who are in different stages of developing, quote unquote, their book. And then when you spoke to them, you find out they're really nowhere.
Right. Yeah.
And that's because they need an education. And that's where we come in. I'm huge on the educational components of what you do, which is educate first, provide service later, whenever it comes.
Mm-hmm. It's really the key. And, you know, our world has changed so much as far as what's available to us. We're living in such an amazing digital age where the traditional ways of writing a book, you know, going through a publisher, all those kind of things are kind of out the window. You know, it can still go that route, but it's very expensive. And oftentimes the marketing doesn't get done that way. And we live such a really kind of a magical time to get our messages out there and really heard. And until you start planting those seeds within your community and those that, just like you just did on your vacation and the context that you have, you plant those seeds and you have to just drip a little bit at a time because they're not going to hear it any other way. Otherwise it goes completely in one ear and out the other.
Would you guys be interested in hearing a strategy that I just implemented, which I'm sure you all have done or are doing it? And I may be late to the party. I don't know. But you know, one of the things that I've had that we all have access to if you've already written your book is you've got the electronic digital version of your book. So I just created a tripwire, which is on my website for anybody that's interested, in exchange for their name, first name only, and their email address. They can get my downloaded ebook at no charge to them. Now, the spiff that I'm putting on it is that I'm going to do a Facebook, after this call, I'm calling Facebook, I'm doing a Facebook marketing campaign to about 32 million. I've already picked the countries, picked the age group, etc., that I'm going to promote that free option of downloading the book through Facebook. And then in addition to that, I'm going to do a retargeting campaign from those people who have exhibited interest, and then they're going to see my ad forever using retargeting on Facebook. Now, why did I select Facebook? I selected Facebook because there's about 1.2 billion people there. I don't need all of them.
You just a couple.
Yeah, and I could probably be of service, I'm saying, to at least 200 to 500 of those 3.2 billion or 1.2 billion. I'm pretty sure I can do that. So my job, again, is what kind of a job is it? Well, at this point, it's a marketing job. Product has been created. It's there. But I had not figured out, I'm the owner, I wrote it. My company published it, so I can do whatever I want with it. I can give it away as often as I want forever. And in fact, that's what I'm using my emotional intelligence book, which is this one. Everybody see that? Mm-hmm. And that one made #1 Amazon bestseller. See, I used all the tricks. It will probably wind up on somebody's desk that I didn't ever meet, or their boss's desk, for a conversation. And how much did it cost me? That campaign is going to cost me $25 a day, $750 for 30 days of Facebook advertising.
That's cool.
So again, how did I get there? I started in the wrong place, and then through education, I repositioned my thinking first, and then said, you know, I'm overthinking this book thing. Just get it done, right? So I got it done, and now I'm on my third. And again, this is, you know, let your emotional intelligence do the talking is developmental stuff, because it helps me help them, teach them in 4 critical areas of emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness. You guys have heard that term before, but people don't know how to become self-aware. How do you become self-aware? Well, the simple answer is go get an assessment done. But a lot of people just don't even know that step, because nobody has told them, pay $50 and get an assessment.
Right.
All right. Now that you got the assessment, then you go into self-management of that assessment. So, you know, if you react, if you got certain words, certain phrases, certain hot buttons that cause you to react a certain way, self-management will help you negotiate and navigate your reactions to certain key words that cause you to go crazy. All right. Each one of us on this call has certain things that cause you to go crazy. And once you know them, now you can self-manage it, right? The third component of emotional intelligence is social relationship. And none of us are born with great social relationship skills. I certainly wasn't. I mean, I had to learn it. How do what does mingling mean? I mean, we all are involved in marketing or sales in some source or other, and somebody tells you, well, you got to go network. Well, who teaches you how to network? Other than, being intrusive and forcing your business card on somebody who didn't ask for it. That's the most amazing behavioral change that I've taken. Look, people don't want my card. I don't give it to them.
Right.
All right. And then the fourth thing, and this is where the deals are made, it's called relationship management. Once you've navigated the first three categories of emotional intelligence, relationship manager becomes the fourth and most important, because people, and you've heard this phrase before, people like to do business with people they know, like, trust. I had a fourth one, and that's called respect. And respect. And from the perspective of that theoretical and actual psychological construct called emotional intelligence, if people spent a little bit of time understanding their strengths in that area, their outcomes will change dramatically.
Incredible. Love what you're sharing with us. So for those that are new authors, what's the biggest piece of advice for their next step? Almost everybody here is like getting finished with their books, getting ready to start, get them out Amazon.
Great. So Joni, how are you presenting your book?
I'm getting ready to do all that stuff you just said.
Joni, good for you, because you got the chops. All right, you know how to speak from platform.
Yeah.
Now you just got to get more people to know who you are.
Right. I'm organizing. I'm dumbing down and organizing.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Miguel?
Of course.
Going back to where you started, the difference between strategic and tactical. How do you define?
Yeah.
How do you separate them?
Yeah, I'll keep it simple,
Okay.
because too many people want to make it too complex, and everything can be broken down to its most simplest elements so people can understand it. Strategic is a business plan where you are actually sitting down, writing your business plan, and hopefully having a coach, a friend, an associate challenge you on your stuff. That's absent doing that, anything that you do which is tactical. So what's tactical? Tactical is day-to-day operational implementation of your strategic plan.
Okay.
So what would be an activity of that? An activity of that would be you going to Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, or whatever other nonprofit organization will allow you to speak for free, so you can hone your skills from platform, and you're presenting your stuff. That's tactical.
Okay.
Does that help differentiate the two? All right.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Any question I can answer for anyone? Because I can talk a little bit.
Everybody's quiet and smiling.
You guys, come on, this is not a shy group, not a timid group.
Nope, they're not, and they're acting like it.
You're in your heads probably, and I probably said a few things that are challenging your thinkings, and that's good. And if it's not, then let's get busy and go execute. Like I said, one of the other things I'm purchasing with Database USA, I'm purchasing 571 names of CEOs, business owners, etc. Name, address, company name, in the specific revenue that I gave them to search for me, all female business owners. Now, why do you think I did that?
You're targeting.
Exactly. So I'm going to invest, let's say it's 500 times 50, that's 250 in postage plus 250 for the labels. I own the database now. I can put in my CRM for follow-up. So $500 will get me in front of 5,000 business owners. Now, I don't yet know the delivery rate on those, but Database USA on a previous batch that I bought of 3,300 contacts open rates were pretty good from an email campaign. But again, that's work. Everything I'm describing to you is work. You can do it as a solopreneur, but you're going to be a busy person. All right? Because not only are you doing the marketing, you're also the subject matter expert. So you got to be able to do both. Yeah. And God forbid that you ever get a client that's willing to pay you. Now, how are you going to fit them in? Right? So I've been there. I'm exactly where you guys are at. I mean, I've got a client right now, fairly large client. There's a bill going out. By this point in their program, they probably should have been meeting with me. And they only had 2, but they canceled the other 4. And my bill's going out.
Something just happened where we're getting an echo off of something. Yes. Changed. Not sure.
All right. Are we okay?
Okay, now you're okay.
All right. So, we have a tricky, we're challenged as individuals, as solopreneurs. Now, by the way, I do have a webmaster that I pay for. He's in the Philippines. I would never be able to sleep. I'd be grumpy all day, and I wouldn't be happy. Which is why there are certain things that you've got to decide. You just got to find the money, put it in your budget, and outsource it. Let somebody else who's quicker, faster, better at it than you are get it done for you. So that's another suggestion that I would say to you. Are you guys familiar with the term a speaker one sheet?
Yes, some of us are.
Do you all have, all of you speakers, consultants, and coaches out there, do you all have a speaker one sheet?
I think for our 2 newest students, they don't yet, but the rest, I think they do, right? How about you, Judy? Your sound's off.
She's muted.
Sorry, there you go. No, not yet. That's something I got to get going on.
Got to get going. So, all right, yeah. I'll confess. It took me 3 years to get my speaker one sheet done. I'll be the first to confess.
And we have samples from Jesse.
Yeah. Yeah, so how long is it going to take you to get it done?
How long is it going to take me? Well, I just pull part of what I've done for the back of my book and add it to it.
That's one way to do it. All right, so I'll confess, this is full disclosure. It took me three years to not do it because I'm smarter. I can get it done. I can do it. It's the cobbler's kids has no shoes. And then one day at yet another event that I went to, I said, yeah, I really need to get that done. But then I talked to myself and I said, but I really have to get it done. And so it took three weeks after I scraped up the $1,000 to get it done.
Oh.
All right. So I went from 3 years and 3 weeks to 3 weeks. And there was nothing the first time that was preventing me from doing it. Yeah, I had to assemble the media and do this and I provided all the copy. But what I can't do is format. I can't format. That's not what I do. I can't put something together that I would be proud of. So I outsourced it, got done in 3 weeks and done. My speaker one sheet cost me. Have you guys seen my speaker one sheet?
No, I haven't shared that with them.
You can. It's okay.
Okay.
As a training vehicle.
I sent you mine too. You can share mine.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, take a look at it because most of us, again, like I said, it's not through lack of intent. It's through lack of will to make it a number one priority and just take it off the list. So it's real tough for people to know what you do, what you speak on, and the transformation that you can deliver if they hire you, if you don't give them some marketing materials that absolutely speak to that. And your website should be reflective of that. And before I forget, by the way, but those of you who are interested in my downloadable ebook in exchange for your name and your email address, and I won't spam you, just go to coachmiguel.com and you can download the book. In fact, you guys should probably test the link for me to make sure it works. Because again, all of that is set up. I had my webmaster set it up. I use, for that product, for that book, I think I'm using MailChimp as my autoresponder because it's cheap. And since I don't have a list, it doesn't hurt me until it grows larger. So take a look at it, download. The only thing I ask, if you feel so inclined, is to give me some feedback, 5 reviews or more on Amazon. That way I can build my my Amazon reviews from, I think, 5 that it's at right now to something larger.
Very cool.
Is that cool?
We can do that.
And Becky, if there's anyone else that you think that might benefit from some lessons around emotional intelligence with your clients, etc., feel free to offer it.
Very good. Thank you. I will. In fact, my husband, one of your emails that you just sent, I sent it over to him, and he was working on it or listening to some of your presentations because he's interested in it.
All right.
Cool.
All right. Good.
Well, if you had it all to do over again since you started down this path, Miguel.
Yes.
What would you do differently?
Here's what I've done. Here's what on different fronts, on the educational front and investment front, I would have narrowed down. And again, you don't know this if you're new to the gurus in the space. I'm a firm believer in paying people what they're worth and the value they deliver. The problem when you're new and fresh is that you don't know who to listen to, and you don't know who to write your check to, and you don't know who's on the up and up, and you don't know who to trust. That probably took me 2.5 years, and money, time and money, because you really don't know. Now, each one of the people that I've invested in has served a value and a purpose. Whether I actually took something and implemented or I just put it on the shelf, I know what they train and teach on. The other thing is I cannot overemphasize spending clear time with coaching in the area of setting up your strategic plan. Because absent a strategic plan, you're just flapping in the wind. You know, you're hoping for success. And really, success does leave clues. Just pay attention to the people who are making more money than you are in the sector that you're interested in. For example, when I decided to work the corporate market for professional speaking, for which I yet have gotten 1 gig, like 0. But that has nothing to do with my coach. That's got to do with me. It's my job to go sell me to my client. All right. So, I partnered with a guy by the name of Steve Siebold. Steve Siebold makes millions of dollars pitching in presenting 1.5-hour presentations in the corporate setting. So, for example, when he and I pitch together, actually, I pitch. He just shows up and sings. All right. And, that's a $20,000 engagement for an 1.5-hour talk.
Wow.
It's not for the faint of heart. But again, that sales cycle takes a while. I've been working Wells Fargo now for almost 2 years, and they're a bunch of numbnuts. All right, they can't make a decision, which is consistent with the way Wells Fargo runs sometimes. So again, you got to clearly define your message to market, clearly define your market, and then clearly mentor with someone that's going to take you from where you are to where you need to get to. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That is probably, I wish I would have listened to my own advice. I wish I would have had me talking to me. Because again, we search. We're a group of searchers. Entrepreneurs are searchers. We're always searching for something, for someone. And a lot of the times the answers are within number one, once you have clarity around the outcome that you're seeking. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Very good. Yep. Wow. Anybody have any questions for Miguel today?
Got any leads for me?
Well, we're thinking on them.
Okay, let me ask a question
Yes.
on emotional intelligence.
Yes.
And that's you mentor people on that.
Yes.
Could you tell me what you do? Like, what would you do for me?
Well, I don't know what you need, but let's assume you took an assessment. All right.
Okay.
Because there's an EQI assessment that you can and should take. It'll give you some feedback. It'll give you feedback around those 4 quadrants that I mentioned before. You may find upon your self-assessment, now let me give you this caveat, self-assessments are not always accurate because you're evaluating yourself, which is why you need 360 assessment like friends, family, boss, or people that you support, in other words, your clients, to give you feedback on your preferred style of communication. So if you wanted help around emotional intelligence, once you learn where your gaps are, and again, I'm not going to sell you an EQI assessment. Google EQI and take whichever one pops up. You will not be unhappy with whatever you get.
Okay.
Do not pay more than $75. So find one online that you can take emotional intelligence assessment. In fact, I'd Google it that way, emotional intelligence assessment tools, and take one. And then study it. And then share it with your friends and family if you have that much courage. And have them confirm or deny the assessment.
Okay.
Assessments are not 100% accurate, but as long as they're roughly right, it's a good tool. Is that helpful for you?
Yeah, as long as you're honest.
Yeah, well, yeah, the only one you're faking out is you, and the $75 you're going to put on a credit card.
Right.
So it helps to be honest, or as honest as you can be, because you know, here's another component of assessments. We all have blind spots, and we don't always know what they are.
Yeah.
You know, so just be honest. Don't overthink it. Respond to it, and you'll get an assessment returned back in about 15 minutes or less.
So you believe in starting with an assessment?
Oh yeah, because you don't know where to go. Well, you know, download the book for free. That'll give you a couple of ideas and thoughts, but you need an assessment before you go forward.
Okay.
All right.
Right. And is that tactical or?
That would be strategic first.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be strategic first. The tactical are going to be the actions, Joni, that you're going to take place to fill the gaps once you identify them.
Thank you so much.
Cool? All right. Love your smile.
You have a great smile.
What else, guys? Anything else I can help you with or confuse you with?
I think this has been delightful, and we now know everybody now knows how to reach you. And we'll be doing a recording of this. We're kind of
awesome.
We're up on our, this has all been recorded. I'll send it to you, but our time is up. And we are delighted that you took the time with us. We love you and appreciate you very much.
Well, I appreciate you and everybody here that I've known personally and throughout the years. We're all growing together. Notice I didn't say age. We're all growing together. And if I can be of service to anyone, feel free to send them to me. And I just hit the surface on a lot of things, as you know. And thank you for your patience for our technical dilemma early, but we seem to have resolved it.
You did well. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Okay.